Okay, a very good afternoon to one and all. In the last lecture that we are discussing, or we are discussing about the software engineering specifications. In the previous lecture, we are discussing about the software engineering uses of specification. Then we can discussing about the specification qualities, then the specification styles. That all we are discussing in the previous lectures. That is software specification. What is software specification that we are discussing in the previous lecture? Then we are discussing about the uses of specification. Then we can have discussing about the specification qualities. Then we can discussing about the classification of specification tiles. Now in the today's lecture we are discussing about the operational specification. Today we are discussing about that. In the previous lecture that we are discussing about the classification styles of specification, that there are two different specifications while the classification styles, that is the operational specification and the second one is a descriptive specification. So in the operational specification that we are discussing today in the detail. So in operational specification, there are three different models, the formal models that we have discussed in this lecture. The first one is a data flow diagram, which is known as the DFD. The second one is a finite state machine, and the third one is a Petri nets. These are the three models that we have discussed in the operational specification. While we can design a model, while we can have the apply our specifications, the operational specifications in our software engineering product. So the last one, the first one we're talking about, the first operational specification model is the data flow diagram, which is known as the DFD. So this DFD is specifying the functions of information system. So the DFD is what? So DFD gives me the specification functions of information system. How information of the product or the software that we have discussed in this data flow diagram. That is, the data flow diagram are a well-known and widely used notation for specifying the function of information. Whatever the information that we have collected, so this information that we have now designed in operational specification by use of a diagrammatical notations that is known as the data flow diagram. How we can flow our data from one point to the other point in a software specification. So the DFD is described as a collection of data that are manipulated by the function. So DFD, what is the use of DFD? So DFD is nothing but it is a described system as we can collect a data, we can collect the information and that manipulate that information by making the functions, by making the DFD, by making the diagram. The data can be organized in several ways. They can be stored in data repository or they can flow a data flow. We can have the flow chart. So what is the flow chart defining? The flow chart is a diagrammatical structure of our algorithm. So that algorithm can be converted into a flow chart. So that is the, whenever we can collecting a information, collecting a data, so that data's flow can be defined in a data flow diagram. So why? The one of the best reason why this DFD is successful. So that is the reason is what? We can have the attractive graphical notation by using the attractive graphical notation to use them easy use. That is why the DFD is more famous and more successful graphical notation while we designing our data or our information. There are different elements that we used while we have defining our data flow diagram. There are the basic elements of DFD, data flow diagram. The first one is a bubble. So bubble is nothing but, here is the diagrammatical approach also given. The bubble, here the bubble is used to represent the function. The bubble is the function symbol which is used to represent a function. The next one is arrow. The arrow is a data flow symbol. So used to represent a data flow. In the down, here is the arrow. This arrow is used to representation of a data flow. The arrow going to bubble represent input value that belong to the domain of the function represented by the bubble. If the bubble is going the arrow, that means we are having a function. From that function, we can have define, we can have represent a input value, the input data from that function. So it represents the flow, it represents the data flow by means of the arrow symbol. The next one is the open box. Next one is a open box. So the open box to represent the stored data. In open box, we can have represent or we can store a data. Arrows entering open boxes represent data that are inserted that data flow. When the arrow is inserted to the open boxes, that means where the data that we stored in our open box data. And the last one is the input output box, the IO boxes. In the IO boxes is represent the input data or the input device symbol, where we have to collect the input from the functions, from the information, and then that the information is represented in a rectangle box or in a square box, which is known as the input data flow. So these are the basic elements that we have used while we can have collecting our or while preparing our DFD. So for that purpose, I'm going to take one example here. So look at the DFD here. This is my DFD. This is my DFD. This DFD is used to represent the what? The library information system. This generalized DFD of what? This generalized DFD is for the library information system. The data and the function are shown necessarily computer data and computer function, where this diagram is shows what the complete library information system, how the data is flow, how when we can entering into a library, what are the flow of the library, where we have to issue a book, where we have to submit a book, or where we have to search a book, how the flow is going on, that flow is given in this data flow diagram. Okay, now look at the DFD. So here there are the open boxes. The open boxes represent what? The data warehouse, where we have to store a data, the shelf, the book that we have stored. Then again we are having the open box. Look at the arrow that I am going to discuss you. Here the arrow, the list of authors means where we have to store the list of authors. Then the list of titles, list of topics. These are the different data store area where we have to store a books, list of the authors, list of the titles, and the list of the topics that we have stored in our data warehouse data store, which is represented by the open box. Then there is a bubble that we use to function. Now, what is the functioning? So the functioning of this bubble is to get a book. From where it get a book? From the bookshelf. Or if we are searching from author, the list of authors we can get a book. Then list of titles, then that goes the book. Then we have the input that represent in the square box. So book required by the user. So the user is request a book by incoming arrow to the bubble to the function, that is get a book. And from get a book, we can have again the incoming arrow from the shelf, from the list of author, and from the list of titles is there. So when the user is requesting of book, it gives me the detail, that is title and author of requested book. How we can, if we can entering into a library, that we can ask for a book. So we cannot ask the book of DBA. No, I'm going to ask the detailed name of that book. That is the book, or we can have the book that is software engineering. I'm going to search by a title and search by an author. I'm going to request it. Then the book receptionist, where the reception is there get the request to the book reception that this user is accessing, want the book of that particular title, and the book name is there. Then the list of books is borrowed from that function, and this is how we can have the list, or we can have the DFD where we have to access a book. Here another option is there, search by topic. The topic required by the user. User can have search the book by the topic. So the topic is given, that the topic that I have to search it, and then I'm going to represent the book from there. So here it is my complete book where I'm going to flow the library information system by means of the data flow diagram. Here I'm going to represent our data flow diagram in terms of library management system. Okay. Now, here in this DFD, there are some negative, or we can have say that there some drawbacks are there. First, that is what if a rough description of the system model is not sufficient and we need to precise and detailed definition of DFD, simply cannot do the job. So here I am going to use a detailed book. That detailed books I am not going to show here. So then in the next version, I am going to refine that DFD. What I'm going to do? I'm going to refine that DFD. I'm going to make a DFD refined, and again I'm going to change that DFD by the previous one. So here it is, the refinement of the previous DFD, where instead of search by topic and get by a book, we can have the find a book position is there and the get a book. Where is the book position? Where is the store in the shelf? Where is store the book in the shelf? That is the position that I'm going to require. I'm going to refine that previous DFD. So here it is. My DFD is again comprising. So that is why there are shelf, data store, there are list of author, there are list of titles. I'm going to remove the list of topics here. Now, the get a book is from the shelf and find a book position from the authors and from the title. We are going to find the book position. Then the book reception is there, which is going to access that book, and there is a list of books borrowed by the name of book title. And this is the, here it is the DFD that we can have compromised by the previous compromise. Are you getting? So this is how the example of data flow diagram, where we have to flow a data in the means of library management. The next one, the next operational specification model is a finite state machine. That is the FSM, finite state machine, which is used to describe the control flow. What is the finite state machine describing? The finite state machine describing the control flow. As my data is flow by the data flow diagram, and now I'm going to control the flow by means of the finite state machine. How we can control our data, control our flow by means of the finite state machine. So in the information system is emphasized is on the organization of data and the related operations. We have our DFDs, whether we can have execute our functions, which gives me a data flow diagram. But in case of the programming language, have construct both to describe data organization and to describe the flow of control. So this programming is gives me the finite state machines programming language have gives me the complete description of data organization and to describe the flow control. That is, it gives me the finite state machine. Now, the finite state machine, before we discussing about the finite state machine, we have to discussing about the control flow. Okay, the balance between the data and control flow may be different. So how we can balance it? So one must write into a full buffer or read from the empty one. We have to write our queries, we have to write our flow, we have to control our flow from the full buffer, or there is a one read into the buffer area. One should not access a buffer while another process is writing on it, definitely. So how we can control our data flow? If someone is going to write it, then no one is another one cannot write it into that particular process. Then if the one could also attend to functional aspect of the finite state machine, the functional aspect is for each message received, the parity must be checked. Definitely, whenever we have to receive any message, the parity that we have to check it whether the data should be corrected or not. So that is how we can have the information system and control system is managing by this finite state. So the finite state machine or FMS, FSMs are a simple, widely known and important model for describing the control aspect. Okay, the finite state machine is describing the control aspects widely, simply, and collecting the important model for describing the control aspect. The finite state machine consists of a finite set of states that we represent by a Q. Then there is a finite set of input, we can represent it with the I. Now there is a transaction function. If delta is represents if there is a partial change, partial function. And delta means what? There is a partial change. So if there partial change in our state and our input, then we can have undefined the values of its domain. We have to undefine the value of its domain. Now look at the diagram. This diagram is a simple finite state machine diagram. So in this diagram, we are having the states, that is Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3. And there are some inputs like A, B, C. So these are the inputs. Where if we have goes from Q1 to Q2, if and only if there is a change between the state from Q1 to the input. Look at here the diagram. Look at here the diagram. If I am going to goes from this Q1 to Q2 and there is an input arrow and there is a one variable, or we can say the input is A. So how it is? Whenever we have to go from Q1 to Q2, then we have to check the if and only if the Q1 is having the input from this A, then only we have to go to Q. Like Q1 to Q3, Q2 to Q3, and Q3 to Q0, and Q0 to again Q1. We have to have some state, and we have to finite state that we have. Like data flow diagram, let's take one example of this. So the example is like this. Consider a small part or small chemical plant. We can have the finite state machine describing the control of chemical plant. So this is the diagram. This figure shows the finite state machine of the chemical plant. Now the temperature and the pressure. There are two important aspects, elements of the chemical plant. That is the pressure and the temperature. So the temperature and pressure level must be monitored by the safety. The safety team is going to monitor the temperature and pressure of my chemical plant. So sensors are installed. There are in the finite state machine, we are having the installed sensors. The sensors to generate the appropriate signals when either of these level exceeds some predetermined value. Now I am to set a value and I am going to have the sensor. If this predetermined value is goes high, then there is an alarm and this alarm is going to vibrate. And the signal is goes to the alarm and the machine is off. Then machine is off. After resetting our machine, then we have to restart our machine again on. So this is how the finite state machine diagram, where we have to control our chemical plant by means of finite state machine, where there is a monitoring of pressure and temperature. If high pressure is there and high temperature is there beyond the uh, appropriate signal, then only the alarm is goes on and the system is off. After monitoring the temperature and the temperature is in the set level of appropriate value, then only I am going to restart my plant and again I am going to take a production of the chemical. So that is how this finite state machine is having the control of the chemical plant and give the flow how it works by means of the finite state. So today we can have the stop here, and in the next lecture we are discussing